Hello children, welcome to Scholars Guide Premises class. I want to welcome you specially to this class. You see, we are going to have a very exciting moment together. We are going to learn new things as we're going through the different topics that we have in the individual subjects that we'll be touching in the course of this class. So children, I encourage you to sit back. I encourage you to be expectant because this class is really going to benefit you and I, as we are going to be learning so many exciting things. So children, I welcome you once again to Scholars Guide Premises class. So today we are going to start our class with this English language class. And in our English language class today, we'll be looking at a very important aspect of English grammar. That aspect is what? The comparison. How to make comparison, how to compare to with the usage of as or like. So we'll be looking at how we can use as in comparison and how we can use like in comparison. So children, today sit back and enjoy this moment. All right, so let's start with as. Let's look at as. There are 4 ways by which we can make use of as for comparison. When we are comparing items, there are 4 different ways by which we can make use of as. The first way is that as can mean because. As can also be used as because. For example, you see, as it was raining, we stayed at home. You can actually say, because it was raining, we stayed at home. So that's actually telling us the cause and an effect. As it was raining, he stayed at home. So as can be used as because. Why? Because in comparison, as could mean because. Number two, we have that as can also mean while or at the same time. When you want to compare 2 things that are happening at the same time, then you make use of what? As. You can use it interchangeably with while. For example, as I was walking down the street, I saw joy. You know, you could actually say, while I was walking down the street, I saw joy. But now we say, as I was walking down the street, I saw joy. You see, as is used to compare what I was doing, where I was going, and how I met joy. So as is used in place of while. Number three says this as can be used to talk about similarities between things. When you want to show that 2 things are similar, then you make use of as. Then when you use as to show similarities, then this as works as a conjunction and is followed by either a verb, a noun, or a preposition. So you see that as can also be used to show similarities as long as the as is followed by a verb, a noun, or a preposition. And in that statement, the as works like as what? As a conjunction. So we have 2 examples there. The first example says, John loves good food as much as I do. That means I love good food. John too loves good food. So we have something that is similar. That is food. That's our likeness for food. So you see the usage of as there, followed by much there. All right. The second one that we have, he says, she's as clever as her sister. That means her sister is clever. She too is clever. So they have something in common, and we show that by the usage of as there, followed by what? A sister. You see, a sister there is what? A noun. Number 4 says as can be used with a noun to show someone's position and function. When you want to show someone's position or what someone is doing or what someone ought to do, then you can use as with a noun, and it will show us the position and function of a person. For example, it says she works as a teacher. She works as a teacher. You see, as there is actually telling us what work this person does, that this person is a teacher, this person teaches. You see, the teacher there is the noun that follows the has. Our second example says, don't use the knife as a screwdriver. Don't use the knife as a screwdriver. So as here is followed by the noun screwdriver, telling us that both knife and screwdriver, they do not have the same function. A knife has its own function while a screwdriver has its own function, so they should not be used. You should not misuse the knife. So you see the 4 different ways by which we can make use of as to show what? Comparison. All right, so the second thing we'll be looking at now is what? Like. How we can use like to show comparison. There are 2 different ways by which we can do that. We have the first way to be what? It said like can be used to give example. When you are talking about a concept or an idea and you want to state an example of the concept or idea you are talking about, then you make use of what? Like. Now let's look at this example. You say, I love big cats. Do you love big cats? I love big cats, like lions. You see, this person is trying to tell us his likeness for big cats. And he's telling us, okay, even any kind of big cat I like, but an example of a big cat, in case you don't know one, it's a lion. So I love big cats like lion. You understand? It's actually telling us that lions are examples of what? Big cats. Number 2 usage, it said like can be used as a preposition followed by a noun to talk about what? Similarities. When you want to show that 2 or 3 things are the same, they share the same thing in common, then you use like as a preposition, but it has to be followed by what? A noun. Example, you say, John loves good food like me. That means John loves good food. I also love good food. So our likeness of good food is common to the 2 of us. So we use like there as a preposition and followed by what? Me. Number two is what? Lagos is a busy and exciting city like Abuja. That means Abuja is busy and exciting. Lagos too is busy and exciting. So to show that the 2 of them, both Lagos and Abuja, share something in common, we make use of like, followed by what? Abuja. The next one that we'll look at, the next example, is say, she looks like a mother. That means when you see her, it's like you are seeing a mother. You are seeing a mother's picture, you are seeing a mother's image on her face. So for you to tell us that they share the same look, that they look alike, then you use what? Like a preposition there, and mother there, it's a noun. The last example that we'll look at there is the kitchen smells like lemons. The kitchen smells like lemons. That means when you enter the kitchen, there's a particular smell that you perceive. There's a particular smell, and that smell is the smell of a lemon. So you see, we use like there as a preposition and lemon as what? A noun, to show what? Similarities between the kitchen and the lemon. So children, we have been able to look at the concept of as and like, how we can make use of as and like in comparison. All right, so we'll go to the second aspect of our work today, and that second aspect is what? Simile versus metaphor. Simile versus metaphor. You see, simile and metaphors are types of what? Figures of speech. You know, we have figures of speech in grammar. We have several ones, but for the sake of this class today, we'll be looking at what? Simile and metaphor. So what is a simile? What is a metaphor? All right, so join me and let's enjoy this moment as we look at similes to be words that are used to compare 2 things with the use of as or like. By now you know the correct usage of as and like, right? All right, so now if you want to show similarities, you want to compare 2 things, then you use what? As or like. Now when you use as or like to show comparison of 2 things, then that is what? Simile. Example, she cried like a baby. She cried like a baby. You see, we are trying to compare she with what? A baby. That means when she cries, there's a kind of sound that we hear that is like the cry of a baby. So we use what? Like. The second example says, life is like a box of chocolates. You know, when you have your chocolate, you put it in your mouth. When you eat it, it melts in the mouth and you enjoy the sweetness, right? It's usually sweet and tasty. So they're not telling us that there's something about life that is like chocolate. So life is like chocolate. So that like there is actually the comparison, showing comparison between life and chocolate. All right. The last example there says he is as busy as a bee. You know a bee, our honey bee. All right. The bee is always active. You see, in the night, in the day, is always you know that sound that bees made, or that boo sound. All right. The bee is always busy and active. So they are telling us that this man is just as busy as a bee that is also usually active and busy. So we use as there to show that there's a similarity between him and what? The bee. So that is how we make use of what? Simile. I hope you understand, children. All right. So let's go to the last one, which is metaphor. What is metaphor? How do you use metaphor? When do you use metaphor? We use metaphor when we want to show direct comparison of two things. When we want to compare two things and we are not making use of as, we are not making use of like, but want to do a direct comparison, then we make use of what? Metaphor. Get the difference between simile and metaphor. When you are comparing two things in simile, you use as or like, but when you are comparing two things in metaphor, you do not make use of as or like, but you do a direct comparison. Example, Shade is a tiger on the field. Now, we are trying to compare Shade as a tiger. You know, a tiger is a wild animal, and we are not saying that anytime Shade is on the field, maybe she's playing ball or she's playing basketball, she's into any sporting activity on the field, that means she is usually acting like a tiger. So we are trying to compare Shade with tiger, and we are doing that what? Directly, not making use of as, not making use of like. So when you do a direct comparison like that, that is what, children? Metaphor. You see, if you had said Shade is like a tiger on the field, that would have been what? A simile, right? Because we make use of what? Like. But now we are not using as, we are not using like, but we say Shade is a tiger on the field. Direct comparison. Our second example says, Tunde is a dirty pig. Tunde is a dirty pig. You see, you know a pig is an animal that lives in the swamping area. They love to get into the swamp, and they are usually dirty, you see, usually dirty. So this Tunde is also a boy that is dirty. Probably doesn't like taking his bath, he doesn't like washing his clothes, combing his hair, you understand? So we want to liken Tunde to something or someone that is dirty, is a dirty pig. That is a direct comparison, comparing Tunde and a pig. Comparing Tunde and a pig. Not using as and not using like. So that is what direct comparison. So children, I hope now you understand the concept of simile and metaphor. There are two different things, despite the fact that they are both doing comparison of two things. All right, we have a very short note there for our consumption. It says both are used for comparison, but simile uses like or as to compare things, while metaphor directly states a comparison. That is just all that I've been explaining to you for some times now. So children, you have some questions for your consumption. Go through the questions. When you do, it will help you to test your level of assimilation of this topic and check your answers in the answer booklet to be sure that you have attempted the questions correctly. Thank you very much, children. See you in our next class.